You want to hear about the wildest 4 months of my life? Buckle up, because this story starts with me, Michael Turner, thinking I'd finally found peace, moving into a run-down little cabin on a patch of Idaho mountainside, 1.3 acres of rough pine and honest quiet, a place where nobody could tell me what color to paint my mailbox or how many logs I could stack by the door. You know what I mean? That kind of peace. Except what I actually bought without knowing it was a front row seat to the most stubborn head-spinning war with an HOA president. You could imagine a woman who looked like she could sell you a house and foreclose on it in the same breath. See, the county auctioned this land after the old owner died. Nobody else wanted it too remote, probably too full of spiders and back taxes. For me, it was paradise. I did everything by the book, got the deed kept, double backup, scanned every page, labeled folders, and I started fixing the place up right away. New porch trail cams everywhere, solar panels, motion lights, the works. Not because I'm paranoid, but because I spent 20 years as a structural inspector. I know how the world tries to surprise you. And I sure didn't plan to get surprised by the neighborly kind of trouble. The only oddball feature was this winding road running past a neighborhood called Clearwood Pines, a subdivision with a sign that says, "Private community residents and guests-only violators will be reported," painted like they wanted it rustic but still screamed, "Get lost." But legally, the last stretch of that road has a public easement platted, signed, recorded, and real. I checked, I double-checked. My land sits outside their jurisdiction, which, trust me, is important. So there I was, not even 3 weeks into living the dream, unloading a bundle of insulation at my gate, when a white SUV glides up spotless as a dentist's office. Out steps this woman, 50-ish laser-cut, haircut, sunglasses, on a string clipboard like a weapon. Didn't wave, just beeline for my gate, and introduced herself as Karen Donovan, president of Clearwood Pines HOA. The way she said it, you'd think I was supposed to salute. Right off she starts. "You know, this is a private community road, right?" I said. "Actually, there's a public easement on file. Want to see the county doc?" Her smile twitched, but she pressed on about fairness, wanting me to join the HOA and pay up for road maintenance. I just laid it out. My land's not in Clearwood Pines. No agreements, no dues, no CC plebinars. She bristled, promised to speak to the legal committee, and left with a, "We'll see about that." That's when I started keeping my phone handy for recording, because I know how these stories go. Didn't take long before I caught her snapping photos of my yard, pretending to check her phone. Next, a welcome packet in my mailbox, no postage, just bylaws, fee schedules, and a letter saying I was obligated to pay up because I used the road. I laughed, filed it under fiction, and sent back a PDF loaded with Idaho code, survey maps, deed scans, the works. No anger, just facts. If you've ever dealt with a Karen, you know anger is her favorite food. Thought that would end it. Nope. Next round, another packet, this time with a second notice sticker, a demand for prorated road fees, accusations about non-conforming materials and debris, read my firewood threats of fines and liens, all unsigned by any lawyer, of course, pure HOA theater. So I took it down to the county land office, made sure every easement, every plat was up to date. The clerk, Barry, chuckled. "You're not the first. They try to annex the eastern parcels every year." Turns out Karen had filed an expansion request the week before, trying to pull my land under her thumb. I wrote a formal objection to the zoning board and hand-delivered it. Wasn't going to lose my peace because some clipboard queen wanted a bigger fiefdom. You want a twist? Here's Paul Neighbor on the edge of HOA land. Leans on his fence, says, "Karen's on the warpath, wants you brought in." I tell him, "She can want in one hand and wave at the law with the other." He laughs, but he's not joking about their legal committee. Sure enough, next morning, there's a final warning. Notice taped to my gate, demands to join the HOA, remove non-compliant structures, submit to inspection. I snapped a photo, filed it under HOA harassment, and didn't even bother replying. Instead, I doubled down, more cameras, a logbook of every maintenance task, photos of my own cleared brush. If she wanted a documentation war, I'd bring the apocalypse. Days passed. Then Mara, retired teacher, shows up with banana bread and a warning. Karen's holding a closed-door HOA meeting, pitching my place as a security risk. That night I watched 5 cars roll into the HOA clubhouse. No cookies, just business. Next day, a letter from Karen. We will be notifying authorities regarding unauthorized occupancy. I read it twice, realized she'd crossed into new territory. She was about to escalate. Sure enough, Thursday morning, 2 sheriff's cruisers park at my gate. One stone-faced, the other just looks uncomfortable. They tell me the HOA reported a break-in. I laughed, offered up every document, the deed inspection permits, moving day video. They were polite, almost apologetic by the end, and the older one says, off the record, something doesn't smell right. This is the kind of thing people do to build a paper trail for a forced compliance case. Don't be surprised if we have to come back. He gives me his card. I start a new folder labeled Police Reports. Didn't sleep much that night, not out of fear, just thinking, what's her angle? 3 days later, Barry from the county emails me a scan of a letter Karen sent the Planning Commission petitioning for emergency annexation of my land for hazard mitigation. She was pushing to seize my jurisdiction retroactively. That's not just HOA games, that's staging a coup. Then came the real showstopper. Another complaint, this time illegal dumping in a protected watershed. 2 different cops, one with tactical sunglasses inside, come to investigate. I walk them straight down to the creek, clean as a whistle. Then I show them footage Karen herself, 3 nights before tossing garbage bags just inside my property line. Raccoons had ripped them open, full of HOA coffee cups and yard trimmings. Cops went silent, then started taking notes. If this checks out, it's going to the DA, the younger one says. Karen watched from her driveway as they left. I waved. She didn't. By now, I had a lawyer, Greg Bishop, civil rights bulldog. When I handed him the evidence, he said, "We're going on the offensive. Harassment, malicious prosecution, abuse of process, defamation. We hit Karen and the HOA with everything." Filed formal complaints, notified the county prosecutor, and within days, subpoenas went out. Karen had no idea she'd just stepped on a landmine. Now here's where it got cinematic. Anonymous tip lands in my inbox, HOA board meeting minutes. Karen pushing her compliance campaign, instructing members to create a perception of jurisdiction. Zoning board sends a letter, my parcel is not and never has been under HOA authority. Any attempt to annex is procedurally invalid. I laminated 12 copies. Karen, meanwhile, goes full panic bait flyers, Facebook posts, glossy fear-mongering about my threat to safety, even using a photo snapped from my own security camera. Greg's office fires off a cease and desist. We get body cam footage from the cops catch Karen outright lying to law enforcement. Prosecutor opens an official investigation. Karen stops talking but starts pushing a hit piece in the local paper, my photo, her words, no chance to defend myself. So I post my own rebuttal online links, docs proof. Within 24 hours, the story explodes, Reddit, Facebook, thousands of comments. Channel 5 shows up for an interview, the tide turns. Then Felix, the silent HOA treasurer, resigns, posts a letter calling out the board for manipulation, lies, and coercion. Next, the county prosecutor's office opens a formal inquiry. Subpoenaed HOA documents reveal Karen knew the expansion wasn't legal, told members to proceed as if we have jurisdiction. Perception creates precedent. The judge calls it litigation gold. Finally, we go to court. Small room wood paneling. Karen looking nothing like a tyrant, more like someone about to get called out by HR. Greg lays out everything, timeline faked expansion plans, fake police calls, Felix's affidavit. Judge doesn't even hesitate, rules that my property is permanently outside HOA jurisdiction, all fines and claims null and void. HOA to pay my legal fees, Karen fined and put on probation for false reporting. I didn't throw a party. I just built a new sign, private property, not under HOA jurisdiction. Trespassers will be recorded and prosecuted. Measured twice, bolted it down. Smiled for the first time in months, just a little. Posted a picture online captioned, "Some boundaries are worth fighting for." People chimed in with their own horror stories. Felix's resignation letter became viral. Karen was voted out. Half the board resigned. New leadership issued a statement promising reform. And for the first time in months, I got peace. Real peace. Mara brought me banana bread, and we sat on the porch watching the sun dip behind the ridge, laughing about what comes next. Maybe I'll build a greenhouse, finally finish that patio. You ask if I think they'll try again. Not if they read the sign. So that's my story, at least for now. Here's the thing, boundaries matter. And sometimes you've got to fight like hell to keep what's yours, even when you're just trying to be left alone. Let me ask, where do you draw the line? Ever tangled with an HOA or a neighbor who just wouldn't quit? Drop your story below and tell me what you think is real justice, because in my book, standing your ground is the only way you ever get to call a place home.